Good evening, everybody. How are you guys doing? Welcome to another edition of Entrepreneurship in Focus. I'm your host, Marlon Joseph, and I'm super excited to be here, particularly as today is the national holiday. We celebrate Pagwa, happy Pagwa to the persons who would have celebrated the event, as well as we are at the eve of International Women's Day. We've got two phenomenal women within studio this evening, and they are excited as well to be part of this evening's or edition of Entrepreneurship in Focus, and I know that you guys will make the most out of this opportunity to ask them questions. Let us mind their business and find out the work that they've been
Literally.
doing, and let us just interact with them. I know some of you are joining, some of you might be tired, but just bear with us. We're only here for 1 hour, and we are going to make the most of it. So I'd like to welcome each and every one of you to our program once more, and let us make the best out of every opportunity. I normally introduce our guests, but tonight being the eve of International Women's Day, I know that men are currently speaking on behalf of women and addressing their needs and so on. So I'm going to allow our guests to introduce
I like that.
themselves. They are going to state their names and their background. Give us an idea of their background. So welcome to our guest.
Thank you. Hello, Marlon. Thank you so much for having me. TBN Guyana, viewers around the world, thank you for joining us this evening. We're going to have a great conversation talking about entrepreneurship and, of course, on the eve of International Women's Day. Um, I'd like to thank Marlon for this opportunity. And I'm
Pleasure.
Avia Maria Lindie. I've been in about corporate Guyana for a while. So my background is that it's in business. I've been a CEO for 7 years, a manager for more than 2 decades, and I started my own business in 2020 in the middle of the pandemic. My sister and I, in fact, she started a small business and she thought about, you know, bringing the brand to Guyana. And she
Mhm.
said, I'll send you the stuff and we'll just get things going. So we started a brand called Collection by Avia Maria because everyone know I like nice things, and lots of people, say they're inspired. So I said, you know what, let me just jump ahead and start the brand. I also started another company because of my business background called Evolve
Mhm.
Business Solutions Inc. I think I got a master class in business from my grandmother because sometimes you don't recognize where your destiny is heading and how you're prepared for it. But
Mhm.
my grandmother was a hairdresser and she was very entrepreneurial in nature. She made like hair food, she sold ice.
Mhm.
She people paid to have telephone receive calls at our home because at the time that was something of a luxury. She raised rare chickens and she had a garden. She was very, very entrepreneurial. So I pretty much was having a master class from her in business. So when I actually started my career, I was a teacher. I taught Spanish and integrated science. Didn't know what the heck I was doing. I just did it out of obedience because my mom said, "You're out of school. You got to find something to do." And you know, and being a values based person, I listened to my mom and I became a teacher. I did that for about 3 years. Was very sad to leave. I got into the travel industry. I'm a trained travel agent by profession. My all-time
Okay.
favorite career, which gave me the privilege to travel around the world. To go to various countries and rebate tickets. Kind of my all-time favorite career. And then, of course, I got into being a part of a startup of a retail stationery company. It's Metro Office and Computer Supplies. Must give a shout out.
Yeah.
And
I met
I
you.
started in New Amsterdam because I'm from Berbice actually, and I was always inspiring and lots of persons. In fact, I was inspired and mentored as coming up in my career, and I said, you know what, I need to pay it forward. So I eventually in 2020, I decided, I'm going to start a company. I'm going to get into coaching. I'm gonna get certified as a coach because something I've been mentoring and coaching for a while. But there's
Mhm.
always a certain way to do things, and I believe that it's important to be certified in whatever you do. So you're going about things in a professional manner. So I decided to get certified as a coach. I did it online with a Coach Transformation Academy in Dubai. and I met amazing people from across the world.
Right.
Even as I speak, I'm also working on another project. I have a full-time job I'm doing for a fintech company, and that's a stretch because that is something new. But for me, it's important to stretch, and I'm a lifelong learner. So, I'm challenging all the women out there and even the young men out there, to stretch and challenge yourself. Nothing is impossible. So I think that's enough about me.
Lovely. Do not go
Lovely.
where the path may lead. Go ye therefore where there's no path and leave a trail. And you've been doing
Right.
phenomenal things. You're setting the stage for other persons to follow. And I love the fact that you would have started a business during pandemic.
Yes.
Some of the folks call it pandemic business. Well,
Yes.
lovely. It's a pleasure to have you on our show. And now we have Miss McCalman.
Good evening, everyone. My
Good
name
evening.
is Ayana McCalman, and it's a pleasure to be here. As Ava Maria said, we're on the eve of International Women's Day, so I especially want to say good evening to all the women who are watching the show, and also to all the men who are, a support system for those women, enabling them to do amazing things. So, my background, I have been a legal practitioner and an attorney at law since 2005. But I like to say I became an entrepreneur around 8 years ago because that's when I decided to start this journey of starting my own firm and learned very quickly that I am a very good lawyer, but not necessarily a good business person, and needed to have entrepreneurial skills in addition to my legal skill set. So I started off on the journey of being coached, allowing myself to be coached, and learning as much as I possibly could about being an entrepreneur and about the entrepreneur world. Uh, so it's been a fantastic journey for me so far. I do not come from parents who are necessarily business owners or a background of family business. But I could see in my family line, all of the entrepreneur skills that, in different ways when I think of my mom, and the different women in my family bring that spirit of resilience, especially that you ultimately need to be a business owner, and to chart your own course and chart your own path. So I'm very grateful. McCalman and Company turned 8 in 2022, and in the spirit of teaching, I like to say, I never advise clients to do anything that I wouldn't actually do for my own business. And I have continually talked about over the course of my career when I found the passion for corporate law and business law in particular, to encourage clients to do the transition from just simply being a sole trader to a company. And so in 2022, we incorporated McCalman and Company. And this year, February, we celebrated 1 year of being a company, as a signal of that we're here for the long haul to be able to support small businesses, in particular, like myself. And I've wanted to describe myself as, I'm a lawyer for entrepreneurs because I'm an entrepreneur too. And people become lawyers for many different reasons. For me, it was about service. And I'm very fortunate that 17 years into the game, about to celebrate my 18th year this year, that I am finding my niche. And that is serving the businesses and the business people that are the backbone of almost every economy. The mom and pop shops, as they call them, the people who keep the lights on, who feed their families, who feed other families. That is not to knock larger companies, but just to say, SMEs have a special place in my heart. And as I thought through how I wanted to guide my own company, McCalman and Company, I decided that that would be the market and the niche that we would serve, because I recognized it was an underserved community in terms of the legal advice and wisdom that they needed to receive to ensure that their businesses would then become, the larger businesses, or the businesses that continue to be of service to their employees and to the communities that they themselves were created to serve. So it's an absolute pleasure to be here. And thank you, Marlon. We were saying just before the show that this is absolutely fantastic and such a great spotlight for entrepreneurs and for small businesses. So thank you.
Thank you very much, ladies. There you have it. Indeed, two phenomenal women, as I did mention, and I know persons are excited to hear from them. I see our chat is lighting up. For those of you who are now joining, we're having a conversation with Miss Avia Maria Lindie, who is the CEO of Evolve Business Solutions, and she's got several businesses under her belt as well. And we're having a conversation with Miss Ayana McCalman, attorney at law. Allow me to shout out to some of our loyal viewers that to our program. I see Joanne DeBeat, Faithful Truly, Susie, Jacqueline, Gwendolyn Patterson, Ramona, Ajay, Rowena, and several other persons are joining us. Thank you and welcome you all. We welcome you all to Entrepreneurship in Focus. So we go back to Ayana. You did mention that part of your reason for being an attorney is to offer service. Can you elaborate more? Was there any significant event or someone that encouraged you to go along that path? I mean, you could have done anything else,
Yeah.
but you choose law.
Yeah.
What motivated you?
Uh, as I'm at the age, I will not declare. I'm always willing to tell my age, but needless to say, I'm at the age where, in my life where I'm reflecting on the choices and decisions that I've made, particularly the career that I chose. And interestingly enough, as I look back, I actually always had an interest in science. And I think it informs how I became a lawyer and how I practice in terms of that, the willingness to observe and analyze things.
Mm-hmm.
But I also know that one of the persons who had the greatest influence on me becoming a lawyer was is Miss Elizabeth Hines. She was just an amazing woman to me. I mean, she had a family, a large family, and she taught law at President's College where I attended.
Mm-hmm.
And by the time I had gone through high school, because of course I had not gone into the science stream, the option by the time I got to A levels was law because
Mm-hmm.
I love literature, but I didn't have an interest in studying literature and couldn't see how I would build a career on that. So my options were law, and my option was law, and I took it. Um, yeah, and that's how I, landed in this career as a
Mm-hmm.
lawyer, inspired by Elizabeth Hines, and then some other women along the way. There's Madam Justice Desiree Bernard.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So, yes, I've had a few inspirations, and that has kept me going in the career that I've
Lovely.
chosen as well.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So, Miss Lindy, I know that
Abby
you
is
mentioned
funny.
that you were a teacher as well.
Yes.
But one significant activity or experience led you to go into entrepreneurship besides learning from your grandmother and seeing things the way she did things?
If I were to be quite honest with you, I actually wanted to be a doctor because I love science. I
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
studied science at high school, and of course, I taught science at high school as well. So I actually wanted to be a medical doctor.
Mm-hmm.
But what I found with my life journey, I was always trusted into challenging situations,
Mm.
and I never backed down from a challenge. In fact, I think
Mm-hmm.
challenges it's more or less like fuel for me. And if you tell me I can't do something, in fact, can't is something a word that I don't use.
Mm-hmm.
I literally cut it out of my
Mm.
dictionary. So if someone tell me or they challenge me to do something, I will definitely take the challenge on head on, and I'm very determined, and
Lovely.
and I will go after it. So I actually wanted to be a doctor.
Mm-hmm.
That did not happen. I ended up teaching. Then I ended up in the travel agent industry, but then I became a manager at an early age, like a age of like 19 or 20. I became a manager. So I started my career in the travel industry
Mm-hmm.
when I left teaching. And of course, I moved up the ranks pretty quickly. So the persons who were actually teaching me, I ended up managing them.
Wow,
But
lovely.
so I've always been trusted in situations where I had to like fix a problem or
Mm,
build something from the ground up.
mhm,
So for me, like my expertise is like is in startup. So I get an adrenaline rush if there's something new that has to be
Yeah.
started. Like when I became took on the responsibility to start Metro in Berbice.
mhm,
That was with the contractors and everything from the ground
Mm.
up.
mhm.
And
Lovely.
it later became a household name.
Mhm,
And of course, from then I got an opportunity to come to Georgetown to run the company to be the chief executive officer. I did that for 7 years. I ended that segment of my career in 2021 pretty much.
mhm,
But I've always been in situations where I've been trusted into a challenging situation. And you either swim or you sink, but of
Mm.
course I had to learn to swim. But I also studied business. I have a master's in business
mhm,
administration, but what was so ironic is that while I was building those businesses, I didn't have a master's. So
Mm.
it's important for us to tell our story and to be,
Yeah.
transparent.
yes.
People see that you get to a certain point and they think it's prescriptive or it's magical. I
Mhm,
was building businesses from the ground up and marketing and doing all the other good stuff,
mhm.
just being very, very passionate and, of course, learning
On the
as I
job.
go along. But I,
Mhm,
I recognize, when I got a bigger challenge that I had to up my game and I decided, yes, I have to go and do this master's that I've been putting off for so long because
mhm,
incidentally, I'm a mom of four as well. And
mhm,
I was also putting my children through school because for me,
Mm.
education is a game changer and it's the most important investment anyone could make in themselves,
mhm,
in their children's life generally. it's
mhm.
it's a game changer. so
Lovely.
so for
Yeah.
me, the focus, I know we can hustle.
Mhm,
We have a hustle culture. I won't discredit it because everybody does what we are accustomed to, but it's important to study,
mhm.
so you understand the concepts and how things work.
Mm.
Lovely. I really like that. You see, persons believe in order for you to get up and get things done, you must have all put together. And I've been saying to persons from day one, you don't have to have it all put together, figure
Mm.
out. You start and you learn in the process. And of course, doing that, you're able to build experiences that even some of the textbooks or so on cannot
Mm.
teach you because you're getting hands-on knowledge and practical information. But tell me, being a fixer, the word you use, how has that affected you given that you're going into a space and you're a woman and not going into entrepreneurial space and with the mentality that you're going to fix?
You know, that's a great question, Marlon. And for me, this is how I view life. If an opportunity comes in front of me, what people see as obstacles, I see as opportunities.
Mm-hmm.
So if I'm an opportunity comes, or which someone may see it as a challenge or an obstacle, I see it as an opportunity. It means that I'm equipped
Mm-hmm.
with everything that I need to take on that challenge.
Mm-hmm. Lovely.
So I go about it I think with the end in mind. I may not have all the answers, but I know there's resources around and there are people
Mm.
around and that I can tap into.
Mm-hmm.
So if this comes in front of me, it means that I'm equipped to deal with this challenge and to solve the problem.
Mm-hmm.
So I think with that mindset, it's like 80% of the job is done once you have like a growth mindset. It's
Mm-hmm.
one
Mm.
that you're thinking with the end in mind. There's always a solution to every problem. I think
Lovely.
that's why entrepreneurship is like the best one of the best sectors in the world because
Mm-hmm.
you're always people paying you to solve their problems.
Yeah.
You may identify a gap that exists
Mm-hmm.
and you can be able to provide that solution and you can do it really, really well. You may not start off doing it very well in the beginning, but you
Mm-hmm.
can become a master at it. But it has to do with your grit, your determination,
every male person you encounter in the work environment thinks of you that way. But we do acknowledge that that is the reality. That there's a certain perception that women are weak or emotional and unable to lead and manage. So I've encountered that. But through that, I've also learned that, and it's something I've had to consistently remind myself, that our value isn't based on our gender. You know, our gender just happens to be what we were ascribed to when we were born, but it doesn't have anything to do with our capacity and our ability. And I think for me, I have taken the position, as Ms. Lindie said, of our growth mindset. And once I'm given the opportunity to do something, I will do it to the best of my ability. And I think particularly for women, that is something that, you know, we all need to come into, that you do not necessarily allow a particular label or you know, or what is ascribed for a particular industry to define you. I think it's very important for you to hone into what your natural abilities and talents are, what your gifts are, and then focus on honing that so that you can become a master at that and do it very well. You know, do that particular, whatever gifting you have, whatever purpose you have, just do that to the best of your ability. And that in itself, I think, becomes the antidote to the conversations around, you know, this perception that women are weak and unable to lead. I would say definitely let excellence be your brand and always do your best. And once you're striving for that, then you don't become so focused about other people's perceptions of you, because you're literally building your life, building your business on the basis of how can I serve, and how can I do that to the best of my ability.
So what would you say to persons who still hold on to girls must be seen and not heard? In this 21st century, what would you say to somebody who's of that opinion still?
I've heard that, and I know we say that not just to girls, but we say that to children. Children must be seen and not heard. And I like ascribing myself as a wisdom keeper, you know, someone who, in the Navajo tradition, wisdom keepers are revered as teachers, and they're known to be the people who carry the wisdom. And I think I'm saying that to make the point that in every time and era that we're in, we need to see the wisdom of the times. And I believe at a certain time, we believed that culture to be true, that children must be seen and not heard, you know, but we must begin to question things and ask ourselves whether or not that belief or that understanding that we have is valuable. And I think we have come so far in our journey as a whole community, not just Guyana, but globally, to recognize that if we want good humans who are humane and compassionate and kind, that we have to be willing to give not just boys, but girls also an opportunity to be seen and heard, so that we're able to nurture them in the ways that enables them to be their best. And to be of service to others. So I would say that's definitely a perception and a belief that, you know, if we're still holding on to that in the ways that we are raising our children, that we need to examine, to re-examine, because it means that by saying, you know, girls must be seen and not heard, we could be missing opportunities to either hear some bit of pain that they're expressing or some bit of joy that they're expressing that could be of value. So, yeah.
Indeed. So modern parenting has got to relook at the way that they handle a child and how they instill values and so on, because that in turn can affect a child. And we've seen several things. For instance, our school system, you must go to school and get a job and work for somebody. That there is girls must be seen and not heard. Then there's pinkish girls and bluish boys and all of these things. What are your take on the same thing? Girls must be seen and not heard.
I'd like to endorse what Ayana said. For me, In fact, I'm raising children as well, and they're young adults, of course. And for me as a child growing up, I was very, very assertive. I know I was told many times that I was rude, but I said I'm not being rude because my views differ from everyone in the home. I'm being assertive. So I knew very early on in the, that my views may differ, but I was bold enough to speak them anyway. Even if I got whooped for it, I spoke my piece. And I remember there's something very profound that my son said to me. He said that the problem with males and women and men, it's like men will ask for what they want. And women, in some cases, do not have the confidence to ask for what they want. But then, of course, we said you're treated unfairly. So so my message is one of empowerment. That's one of the pillars of the company that it's empowerment. And it's my belief that, in order to empower our children or empower the next generation, we have got to listen to them. And listen to hear, listen to comprehend, and listen to understand. I think we had a culture, one in which we were told to be, have to be quiet. You should not express yourself. It's being rude. But that's what caused the challenges that women are facing. We already have an uphill battle because the society is more patriarchal. And then we've added these sayings that they must be seen and not heard. And then we have all this pressure being placed on women and girls. So it makes it difficult for them. So I think empowering our children, giving them a voice, giving them a space to express themselves, and hearing them, because they can add value to any given situation. And I can speak that from experience.
Lovely. Interesting, and I love the fact that you guys would have shared some bit and the counsel that we look at some of the discussions that we're participating in so that we can contribute meaningfully and we can help to bring about positive change as we seek to help persons to become a better versions of themselves, help young women to be able to speak up, to go beyond boundaries created by those who would have gone before them, and to have a right to say, a right to sit at the table, and not because marginalized because of maybe you're a woman, but be able to contribute evenly and effectively as anybody else. So let us understand some of the services that you provide.
Okay, so Evolve Business Solutions is more or less like a business accelerator. Of course, the message for me is empowerment, because I think I was able to climb the ladder of success because there were people who were mentoring me and rooting for me. I think I owed that to others to pay it forward. Of course, my background is that of business. Retail is my area of strength. Of course, I'm a systems person, so building out systems, managing projects, those are things that, I more or less can support small businesses with, because I know some of the struggles the small businesses encounter. Even me with my startup business, things like, the importance of record keeping, the importance of having systems, because your company is as strong as its systems, and quality has become a household name for how we operate in Guyana. Whether it's HSSE or because we have oil and gas, but we have got to raise the bar on quality. And in order to do that, we have to operate a certain way. And in order to operate a certain way, you have to have systems. And it's important for businesses to have mentors.
Yes.
It's not something that is very popular. You don't necessarily have to pay a mentor. Like for me, I do a lot of pro bono coaching for many persons in different parts of the world, because of the pandemic, coaching became something that it didn't have to be in person. You can coach persons online. So I would have met amazing people from all across the world. And there's a universal problem. Everybody's struggling with their small businesses. With the marketing, with the systems, with various things, even managing social media and stuff like that. So that's where, persons who have that level of expertise can get the kind of support they need, so consulting, career coaching, stuff like that. Most times people like create documents that want to bounce something off you to pick your brain. Those are areas where, I can support small businesses. And for me, I like small businesses and more or less young persons, because I can identify where they are and how I was able to navigate the courses. I'm here to support small businesses, both males and females. I'm not stereotypical in my approach, and I'm not a feminist. So I recognize, and I must say this on this platform, that they are for us, for the women to get to where they are, they're allies. And of course, our country and our government should be lauded for, having women in parliament. And I think we're one of the leading countries in the world that has a wide cross-section of women in parliament. So there are lots of good things about Guyana that I'm very, very proud of. And of course, I'd like to support women and men, because men are the allies for women as well. So they support this platform and stuff like that. So, it would be, it would not be the right thing to be biased to say that they are not men who support women. They are, lots of them out there.
Lovely. You make me remember somebody said, with all of these women empowerment going on, somebody needs to teach men how to deal with all of these empowered women, which made lots of sense. Let us understand in depth some of the services you offer.
Okay, so McCalman and Company, we focus on 3 practice areas: business law, land law, and intellectual property rights.
Okay.
So for business law, if you are a small business now getting registered or thinking of moving your business forward and incorporating, we support you in that as well. And do everything from contracts to employment agreements. In terms of land law, if you're acquiring a piece of real estate, a piece of land, selling a piece of land, or even inheriting something from, a parent or a grandparent that you're going to use to then also advance either yourself personally or business, we can support you as well. And then the area that isn't quite popular yet, but it's becoming more and more important as Guyana goes global, as I say, is intellectual property rights in terms of protecting your brand. And I have a particular focus in terms of helping, especially SMEs, to monetize their brands. Because protecting your brands means, for example, getting things like your trademarks done, or if you're a creative, copywriting your work or patenting it. But I believe there is value and wisdom in actually learning how you translate that legal protection into a trademark value that grows your brand. My favorite example on this side, when I talk about that service, is Google. So when Google was registered in 1999, the trademark value of it was 0. But fast forward 2 plus years later, the brand, just that name and a combination of letters and colors, is worth several million US dollars. So it's important that we learn the value. I like my true gift in law is being able to translate the law into what it means for your business. So, these are concepts that, as lawyers, we spend several years in school learning, but being able to translate that into, as I like to call it, a smart solution for a business owner is my real passion. I'm on a mission to make legal advice and wisdom readily available for SMEs, because, as I said at the top of our conversation, it's a market that is left underserved. Many larger companies, have huge budgets to either retain an attorney or hire a legal department. And many small business owners, I believe, are suffering in their dealings, in their business moves, simply because they do not have quality legal advice to navigate the system and navigate the legal system and learn what they can use that works for them. And so those are the areas that we focus on. We interlock those areas as well. Like I said, business law, land law, and IP, as a way of recognizing, those are the foundational aspects for building a business that you would need support and advice. So those are the areas that we work in.
Lovely. And I'm particularly passionate about that area, protecting your work, because lots of times we hear small business owners talking about idea theft. When they go to lending institutions and they're denied funding, but they're seeing their exact proposal being implemented somewhere else.
Yes.
So I am saying that the law should be stronger, and persons should explore that protecting their work so that anybody who starts with assisting a small business owner, be it to write a business plan, be it to render advice or so on, the work is protected. At any time you go and divulge information or you go behind your back, you can be prosecuted.
Yeah, there's a concept outside of the practice of law. That's just a life principle that I think also particularly applies in business. You don't know what you don't know. And I've found being a lawyer in practice for the last 17 years, many entrepreneurs don't know what they don't know. It's important that you know things like your numbers, for example. You know what money is coming in, you know what money is coming out. Did you know what services you want to offer? But I like to describe law in the simplest way as the rules of the game. And so you need to understand the rules of the game, because then you know how to play the game really well. And, there's simple things that you can do for example, in terms of, you talked about the example of sharing your work and your business ideas. One very simple thing, for example, in your emails, because almost everyone does email, have a confidentiality claim at the bottom of your email. That in itself is the beginning to say, the information I'm sharing with you is confidential. If it's not intended for you, do not share it with anyone else. And there are a host of other things that I can talk about. We're not talking about the law segment tonight, but I'm just also coming back to the principle of you don't know what you don't know. And it's best for you to know. And that's what the advice I would give. You have to learn the rules of the game so that you can protect yourself. And you can protect the business that you've created and that you love. Because if it's anything I have learned over the last 17 years as a lawyer, and the last 8 years particularly focusing on how I support SMEs, is that many, if not all, small business owners start by creating something that they love to do, or that a difference that they want to make in the world. And if that's the place that you started from, it's in your best interest as well to protect it. And like I said, learn the rules of the game so that you can play a winning game as a business owner, as an SME.
Lovely, well put. And there was something you mentioned in a session that I participated in that stuck with me about IP law. And it's a mantra I like to say: I am an idea generator who takes action. Because I was able to learn that even though we might have our idea and it might be protected, if we don't work on it, then we cannot claim, or we cannot make a claim. So your idea, you have to take action on your idea when you protect it, so nobody else can steal it. So let's go to Miss Lindie. In your years in business, have you ever felt like really giving up, and what motivated you to continue and press forward?
My goodness, of course. I have that be a liar. I'm not superhuman. Everyone is discouraged at some stage, in their life. But for me, it's always important to think about the people who are depending on me.
Interesting.
So that's my motivation. The persons that are depending on me, who may not have a voice, who may not have the influence, who don't have the platform, for me to be to represent them. And in my business career, it has been a roller coaster ride and fantastic journey as well. But at the center of it, for me, people are important. I always say I have a PFS, which is a people-focused strategy. Lovely. People are at the center of everything. And that's where our focus should always be.
Lovely. I'm going to dig a bit more, because earlier you had mentioned that you had a support. You had persons cheering you and rooting for you. And I want persons to be able to understand that even though there might be persons supporting and cheering you, that you still can feel as if you're all alone in the world and like giving up. So I want to zoom in a bit more, if you can explain to us a direct situation.
For instance, for me, like Ayana mentioned, I also had a business, have had a coach, and and even now I have access to peer coaches all across the world that I can bounce ideas off of. It's something that it's kind of new to Guyana, but it's important. You either have a coach or you have a mentor or you have both. So a mentor is someone who would have walked the walk before you, and they're able to share their knowledge. It's a knowledge transfer where the mentor learns from the mentee and the mentee learns from the mentor. So they might be two different generations. So it's important for me. I've had persons to advise me. Even when I was studying, I had an academic coach. And for me, I have different persons that serve different areas of my life. Like I'm passionate about corporate governance. I sit on the Caribbean Corporate Governance Board, and that's where they have experts from all across the Caribbean. So, being there, I'm able to learn about areas that will affect businesses and even can help Guyana generally. So I'm very strategic and intentional about the persons that I have in my orbit and how they can fast track my growth and how I can help them, because it's reciprocal. We always have to know that life is a give and take. You just don't want to be a taker and you don't want to give as well. But I remember there's someone that's called Mr. Norman Semple. He was the recipient of a national award. And I remember like way back, I would chair a lot of programs and, the people call me to be, chair events and serve in different capacities in the Brevis Chamber and stuff like that. And these people, anytime I had an assignment, I would talk to all of them. And they will always give me ideas and pointers and stuff. And beautiful thing is that if you don't know something, there's always someone that's willing to share information. Sometimes we have this notion that we're scared to ask questions. There's always someone, I bet my bottom dollar, that there's always someone that be willing to share advice and give you guidance. You just have to ask. And that's something that I've had to learn as well.
Lovely. Well, let's hear from you, Miss McCalman. You're deep into law, right? So, were there times where you feel like just giving up and just throwing in the towel? What was that experience like, and what motivated you to pull through?
Oh, absolutely. As Ms. Lindie said, every one of us, no matter the career, we felt like giving up at some point in time. I think it's just part of the human condition. For those of you who probably are listeners of Brother Mac, who is now deceased from 93.1, I would listen to him in the mornings, and he would always say, giving up is not an option. And it definitely isn't if it's something that you're passionate about. For me, by the time I had gotten to about year 7 of being a lawyer, I had got very disillusioned about the way I was seeing the manner in which law was practiced. And for me, what I observed and I felt was missing was just this compassion. And because I'm a person of faith, I began to pray. I said, I really need to find a way of either leaving this profession or finding a better way of doing it. Because, that's just the nature of who I am. I will explore a way to make it work. And one of the salves for me, one of the things that gave, that I discovered, as Ms. Lindie said, there's always somebody that you can ask, or there's always a way of finding. One of the things I discovered was integrative law. And they talked about this idea and this understanding that, lawyers are healers. These are the people who would help to resolve conflict. And this notion that lawyers in the community needed to be the persons who wouldn't just treat in this modern setting a case as just another number, but that you would actually view the work that you do as you're dealing with real human beings, whether it's a commercial deal that you're helping a client negotiate, or a family that you're helping to navigate a difficult family situation. And that really stuck with me. And so I think just around that time, as I hit year 7, I started putting compassion at the heart of my practice. And that really became the light for me that said to me, this, I was given a gift, and to be able to express it through this career that I've chosen, and this is how I would navigate it. So I would say definitely don't give up. If it's something that you're passionate about, either find a different way of doing it or a better way. but also to say to some of the folks who are listening, you are also free at times to make a different choice, and give up on something and try something else. I think the important thing is to say, don't give up on yourself. Don't give up on your gifts. Don't get so disillusioned. Change, reinvent your business or your career as you need to. Just don't get into the mindset of there isn't a way of getting things done. I would say, when you hear the don't give up, it's not hitting your head against the wall. If there's something you obviously don't have the ability to do or that's not bringing you joy. But at the heart of it, I think really is don't give up on yourself. Don't give up on the things that you're passionate about and you love. And perhaps that angst that, somebody out there might be listening, that angst that you're feeling is probably just the push for you to figure out a different way of doing it. That doesn't fit the mold and doesn't fit the norm. And that in itself could be your new path, the path less traveled for you, to find joy in what you love.
Lovely.
Yeah.
So it's actually okay to start over. Lots of people think starting over it's a burden, but there are lots of blessings in starting over and getting your stuff together. And I love the fact that both of you are both functional and fulfilled within your respective roles.
Yeah.
So tonight I'm going to ask the question of the century. All right, it's simple. There are other law firms offering services that you might offer. Why should we come to McCalman and Company?
I'm going to answer this in an unconventional way. There are many other law firms doing what I do. There are many other lawyers doing what I do, and will probably continue long after I'm gone to do what I do. I think it's important for you to find, once you're looking for service, and when it comes to legal service, find the firm, the business that fits your business. When I'm talking about McCalman and Company, though, I invite clients to come work with me because for me, I'm committed to their business wellness, and and their business wellness includes them. I want, when you're sitting and working with me and the team, that we are providing, like I said earlier, solutions that fit you and your business. And that is a commitment that I make. If we offer advice, we offer wisdom to you, that you are free then to make a choice as to whether or not that works for you. And I think for in my experience, observing how law is practiced, I know there are many colleagues who are of similar mind, and I give praise to them, but I think that's also what's missing. Oftentimes people are getting advice, and it's not just in law, people are getting advice literally because it's a sales pitch. It's not necessarily what works for them and their business. So for us, when you come to us, you have a commitment that if you ask us advice on your incorporation, or you ask us advice on real estate, or whatever it is that you're helping us to navigate in the law, we will work to ensure that this is something that supports you and supports your business. And that's why I would encourage clients to work with us. And at the same time, to say that, like I said earlier, you need to find the service provider that fits you, that works for you and your business. And I would say work with me. If you feel McCalman and Company is a good fit, come in and have a talk with us. And also, if there are others out there that are doing the work that supports you and supports your vision for your business, work with them as well. Because we need varied, we need varied opinions and varied ways of being of service. So.
Lovely. And just before we go to Miss Lindie with the same question, we have a question on our Facebook. And of course, you can feel free to ask your questions. Is there anything in the law that can protect an entrepreneur in business agreement? Will the court embrace a non-disclosure agreement and give someone justice if it's brought before the court?
Let me go back a little. I think so. The short answer is yes, you can enforce a non-disclosure if it is breached. I like to say, though, it's important that you also know who you're getting into business with, because lots of times agreements just come down to it's a piece of paper. You know, and it can be well drafted and well written, but a lot of how that is honored or how that guides the deal that you're in has to do with the relationship between two people. All law does is regulate human understanding and human relations. So I would say as a starter at the beginning is that you do your due diligence to know who you're getting into business with, because your agreements, including your non-disclosure agreements, really should be the thing that guides you either to say our dealing is going off track, and you know this is the guideline that we agreed, the framework within which we would use. So you're going to court really should be your last resort if someone is really being obstinate and not honoring the terms that you would have agreed of before. So to me, you know, the better way is to actually make sure that, you know, you have a legal colleague or even your own peers support you in choosing in business somebody that is a person of integrity, so that even if there is a disagreement, that NDA that you've signed just becomes the framework that will guide you, as opposed to you having to spend huge amounts of time and money. But hey, I can be Olivia Pope too. So, you know, if somebody, like I said, is minded to completely disregard a non-disclosure agreement and act out of integrity, you have every right to protect your agreement and move to the courts. But I would encourage SMEs, your court really should be your last resort, because if you are thinking about that point, it means that it's a breakdown in business communication, and you might as well get to the root of it and solve what the breakdown is, because even when you get to court, from my experience being an advocate in court, you still have to deal with what is at the base of it, which is a breakdown in communication between two business owners, and you need to solve that. So if there's a way that you can solve that without the expense and the time of going to court, you do that, and you use the court, I would say, as a last resort, where, you know, the facts are completely in dispute, or one person is saying, you know, I will have no regard for our agreement. Me, as like I said, after years of practice, that is how I have opted to use the courts for clients, and really would like to, being very bold to say, I would discourage us becoming a very litigious nation, because like I said, at the heart usually of what lands you in court, whether for business or in other matters, is a breakdown at the heart of it in communication. And if you're not able to solve that, the court is literally there just to make a judgment and say, you know, these are the facts as I see what is best. You still need to deal with the fundamental issues that caused the breakdown in the first place. Yeah.
Lovely. And we can see that you are filled with lots of knowledge, 27 years of experience. So indeed, you guys should support her, and you guys can be able to benefit and follow up so that your questions and your concerns can be addressed. She is knowledgeable in the field and supports the work of SMEs. So Miss Lindie, let's hear from you. Why should we support your business?
Like Ayana said, you would want to work with somebody that best suits you. So fit is important. And apart from that, you know, it's going to be more of a personalized approach. It's not like a one size fit all. You most likely would want to do a needs assessment. You're not just using a blanket approach to solve each business problem. Each business is unique, may have different challenges, and you'd want to do a needs assessment and give them the opportunity to make a choice, or even to go around the marketplace and see what's available out there, and then they'll see what best suits them, you know, and they can work with you. For me, my focus is on people, and not, I know I'm in business to make money, but of course you want to be able to be empathetic, you want to be understanding, and those values that that good business practices, like Ayana said, you don't want to have an NDA and then you're still ending up in the courts. That's not a good way, a best practice or a way to do business. So for me, it's building a relationship, understanding the needs of the business, and if there's a skill set that you may not have, then you shouldn't take it on. Because I know most businesses like to say we can do everything. No, you can't do everything.
You see, what I like coming out from what the two of you shared is that people are at the center of what you do, and there's honesty. And that is something that I admire and I promote, particularly in this 21st century, the value of people, and of course, being honest. Persons can trust you, you're committed to what you're seeing, and you're able to deliver on that which was promised. So let us hear quickly, where can we find your business and where we can find yours? How can persons contact you?
So for me, you can email me at evolvebusinesssolutionsinc@gmail.com. And of course, you can contact me on 642-3356. I work remotely. And mostly, I'm mostly available on weekends because during the week I have a full-time job as well. So I'm mostly available on weekends and maybe holidays or in the evenings.
So you're giving up your holidays. Okay.
Yes.
Let's hear from you, Ms. McCalman.
So we're available. McCalman and Company is available via WhatsApp on 638-3622. And also via email at maclegalgy@gmail.com. That's maclegal, MACLEGALGY @gmail.com. And as I said, reach out to us on WhatsApp on 638-3622 to book a consultation, and we'll guide you through the process.
Lovely. And as we prepare to close, quickly share any single thing that you'd want to say to our viewers as well as the women that are tuned into our program. So
because the theme of International Women's Day is embrace equity, I just would like people to understand the difference between equality and equity. So simply put, equality is like giving everyone a shoe, and equity is giving everyone a shoe that fits.
Interesting.
I like that.
Lovely.
I like that. So I just want to say it doesn't have to be perfect. It just needs to get done. And it's important, I believe, for us to say that because you're looking at us and you may get inspired and you're like, Ms. Lindie's been doing this for so many years. And, Ms. McCalman is an attorney and she obviously has it together all the time, 100% of the time. And I want to assure you, like we were saying earlier, that we all have our moments and of challenges. And I just want to encourage you to be a doer. If you are getting stalled by perfectionism and you're procrastinating because you're waiting to have your business all together or for you to have yourself all together, remember, it doesn't have to be perfect. It just needs to get done. And I like to add, imperfect action trumps imperfect inaction every time. So you might as well, do it to your best, do it imperfectly and get it done.
Lovely. Thank you very much. There you have it. Two amazing women doing phenomenal things. And we want to take the opportunity to thank them for being on our program, Entrepreneurship in Focus. We want to thank Miss Avia Maria Lindie, CEO of Evolve Business Solutions, and she's got several other businesses under her belt, as well as Miss Ayana McCalman, attorney at law at McCalman and Company. Thank you very much to you, our viewers, for tuning in. It is Tuesday evening and you guys are dedicating your time to ensure that you grow, and I'm super grateful for that. I want to thank each and every one of you. Remember to tune in every Tuesday evening from 8:30 to 9:30 p.m. as we continue to bring you information designed to help you grow. And of course, if you are interested in sponsoring our program, keeping our doors open, then you can definitely do so by reaching out to our page to which you're viewing our live broadcast, as well as you can message me on 652-1959 and we'll be most welcome. We'll welcome you to sponsor our program so that we can keep our doors open and give you all of the shout out that you need. as well as having you on our program to participate in an interview. So do take care as we close. I want to encourage each and every one of you to remember to be safe as you're utilizing our roadways. I noted over the last few days an increase in road accidents, and I'd like to encourage you to practice defensive driving techniques. Drive to save lives, time, and money. I am your host, Marlon Joseph, signing off. Do take care.